want to show you today how to trim a wheel thrown bowl. Please make sure you keep in mind that what I'm doing here is best for the bowl that I made. You will be making some adjustments depending on the shape of your bowl, but the overall idea of trimming a bowl will be the same. So this is the bowl I threw for you in the demonstration on how to throw a bowl on a potter's wheel. Notice how the outside is pretty straight. There's a slight curve, but on the inside is actually where I have this nice curved base. So I'm going to mimic the shape of the inside of my bowl. It's different than a cylinder. Sometimes our cylinders aren't totally flat on the bottom, but we try to fake it by making sure the walls on the outside are trimmed nice and flat, or nice and straight. These walls need to mimic the inside in order to make it a true bowl. And I do have a thicker base because I'm going to be trimming a foot ring today, which is different than trimming a cylinder. So I have my wheel ready to go. I have my tools. Remember, we have our smaller loop tool and our larger pear-shaped loop tool. Making sure my heel is down before I begin. Take my leather hard bowl and center it on the wheel head. Again, I'm using the lines to help me figure out if it's going to be centered. Look at that. That never happens. All right. So I have 4 pieces of new clay. Again, we want to stick your pot to the wheel head. Please make sure you're pushing down on the wheel head, not into your pot. Otherwise, you're going to ruin the form. So I'm going to use my bigger loop tool, just like you do with when you trim your cylinder. You start with your big loop tool because I'm going to be using a larger area, or I'm going to be trimming a larger area. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start to trim the sides of my bowl. And I have to remember what it looks like on the inside, that curved line. So both hands are together, and my tool is going to start to become angled. And I kind of angle my tool back and forth. My wrist does a lot of the work, sometimes even my elbow, my body itself will start to create that curve. I notice that when I'm trimming a cylinder, my grasp on my tool isn't so heavy, and when I'm trimming my bowl, my grasp is pretty tight because I'm doing so much more to the pot than when I'm trimming a cylinder. So make sure you have a nice strong grip. Again, as I'm going down on the pot, towards the lip, I want to make sure that I'm loosening up that grip so I don't have a ring of where I've stopped trimming. When you first start trimming, and I'm going to show you that you actually do need to stop what you're doing, take it off the wheel, check out what's going on, making sure you're creating the right curve, where you need to take away more clay if you're all set. So a little trick that I always try, usually it works, instead of having to recenter this completely, what I like to do is I take off 2 pieces of clay that are right next to each other that are trying to keep the pot on the wheel, and then I gently kind of slide it out. So I'm checking right now with my fingers, thumb on the inside, fingertips on the outside. I want to make sure that the thickness is the same from bottom to top, and right now it's not. Right now I do have some more thickness towards the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and take away a little bit more clay. Now the wheel, or the foot ring, does sit on the bottom, so this curve right here is actually totally going to be gone, this edge right here. I'm actually going to have a foot ring. And the foot ring, I don't like to have all the way out. I like to have it in a little bit more, so it gives a little bit more of an idea of a curve. So I do need to take more clay out from this area than I do towards the top. Check the images that are posted or that are given to you when it comes to what a foot ring should look like, what a bowl that's trimmed look like. Check out some handmade bowls around the house. If you have a potter in your area, if you have other people that are throwing on the wheel, check out their stuff and see how they've done it, and that'll give you a better idea as to what you need to do, or what you could do, or what not to do. A lot of times checking stuff out will show you what not to do to your own pots. So I'm taking off a little bit more of that corner. Alright, so now time for the foot ring. So when it comes to the foot ring, remember I had you guys, when it comes to the cylinders, I had you make one ring. You're actually going to go ahead and create 2 circles. You're going to create an inner circle and then another ring on the outside. What that does is it allows you to see where the foot ring is going to be and how much to trim on the outside and how much to trim on the inside. Alright. So I'm going to trim the circle and then the outside of the ring. I'm not going to touch the ring, just like you don't touch the ring for the cylinder. And with my small tool, I begin to trim away more clay. Trimming down on the outside to actually create this ring. You're going to start to see a little bit more of a ring right here. And then I also want to go ahead and trim the inside, that inside circle part. I like when the foot ring makes a statement. It's not a shy foot ring. It's definitely telling you it's there, it's bold, it's meant to be. So if you have the clay for it, you can definitely create more of a statement. The foot ring's also really nice when you go to grab onto a bowl to drink from or to eat from, and you have that ring to kind of hold on to. That's also really nice. It's almost like the handle of a bowl. Now, remember, the inside of your bowl is curved, so it means that the outside bottom should also have a curve to it. So kind of keep that in mind as you start to trim. So my tool is actually kind of going like this instead of straight across. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take my pot off again. I just want to check to see in here how much more down I can go. So taking 2 pieces off. Sliding out. Let's check it. Alright, so I still have some thickness down in this area that I can still work with. I'm also checking my base. The middle is pretty good. I'm not going to touch the middle anymore, but towards the outside I can definitely make it a lot more of a curve instead of right now it's kind of a gradual edge. So I'm going to trim more out here and trim more in here too. Do you see now why I made sure to leave a lot of clay on the bottom? because you do trim a lot more clay off your bowl than you do for a cylinder. There's a lot of different types of feet. There's rounded feet, there's more flat feet, there's sharp feet. So it's really depending on the shape of your bowl and what you want to try to create. So I'm using my tool to kind of shape a more rounded foot. I'm also going to trim more inside here. Not touching the middle. So that was a good thickness. What this also allows, having a foot also allows you to really sharpen up any edges, making it really look like you meant to do it. Trimming off the top, making sure it's nice and flat. Should use a bigger loop tool for that. Getting rid of all those crummies. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in my tool a little bit more harsh. So technically a foot ring should look like you trimmed a bowl all the way around, totally beautiful and rounded, and then you stuck on a ring afterwards. It's technically what a foot ring should look like. So if you want to try to keep that visual in mind, as you're trimming, that does help. I'm going to try and get all the crummies out of the inside. I'm noticing I have a few lines in here, so I'm going to try to clean that foot ring up a little bit more. Again, trying to make it a little bit more of a statement piece. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to take 2 pieces off again just to make sure this is what I want. You can always go back and trim more in the same time. You don't want it to dry out anymore before trying to trim, so it's really important that you take the time to go through now and make sure it's the right consistency. Yeah, that feels good. And then I also like to look on the bottom and kind of see, does the curve look like it meets the curve on the inside? Does the foot ring, does it have a nice shape? So does it have this like little edge to it the way I want it to? Does it need to be more rounded? All that kind of stuff is what I'm looking for. All right, so since it is what I'm looking for, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off my wheel. And now it sits flat, which is great. And now I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning that whole craftsmanship that we talked about, making sure that the lip is nice and strong. There's no little crummies or plastic bag lines. Again, I'm going with the direction that I've thrown in. I don't want to go up and down, going around. And then also on the outside, especially where I haven't trimmed, there is a lot of crummies and finger marks and things like that that I want to get rid of. So I take my sponge My sponge is not wet. It's definitely damp, so I've wrung it underwater. I've run it underwater and wrung it out completely. So you don't want to add too much water back to a piece of clay you're trying to dry out. The clay doesn't like that, and it'll start to warp and crack. So you don't want to introduce it to a lot of water. Now, one thing I have forgotten was, can you think of it? Anything? My name. So you want to make sure to write your name on the bottom. I always like to put the date. I think it's kind of cool later on, especially when you first start throwing, to see the progress. Even if it's the month and the year or the whole date is nice too. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the bottom too with my sponge. You can use a finger. And then I'm going to write my name. Alright. So next time you throw a bowl, really think about what you want your foot ring to look like, how you're going to trim. Now that you have this idea of what to do and you're going to practice it, the next time when you go to throw a cylinder or a bowl, you have a better idea as to what you're going to be looking for when it comes to trimming. So you'll set yourself up for more success. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, go practice.